Okay, morning guys. So it is Tuesday morning and today I have my meeting with the DEKRA, which is the MOT centre in Dresden. And I haven't taken the car there, I'm obviously in the BMW today, but I've got a whole bunch of paperwork which I'm taking over there, pictures of the car and so on, just to discuss what needs to be done and so we can get a feel for the car and the information that I've actually got for it. Because essentially over here, they don't really hold the information on that car because it's not a very common vehicle, believe it or not. So what we've got to do is we've got to make up what they call a Datenblatt, a data sheet of the car, which forms part of the MOT. I had to do it for the Porsche as well, strangely enough, because it's a car that comes from Germany. It costs about 60 euros, or it did 3 years ago. Oh Christ, almost 4 years ago now. So I'm sure it's gone up, but basically they need as much information from me as they can get so that they make this data sheet accurate. So I've got all of that information, I've got pictures of the car, and at 11 o'clock I'm going to meet with them. So before that, I'm at the DIY centre. This one is called Hornbach, which is, there are two pretty good ones over here in Germany, or in Eastern Germany, Hornbach and Bauhaus. They're usually really well stocked. They've got a huge amount of stock of various things. I come here quite a lot, actually. I'm not promoting it, it's just information. But that's where I am this morning. So the reason for my visit this morning, apart from a Christmas tree, is the PCV valve. So this is the last thing, or the last major thing that's actually missing from my car. And previously I didn't really know what it was or what it did, but obviously it's for emissions. It helps emissions, but also alleviates the pressure in the crankcase. So because that's been blocked off in the past, and as I think I mentioned before, it was blocked off by the garage who did the work for my parents when they were running the car. How many years ago? 20 years ago. When they changed the Weber carburetor. So for some reason they took that PCV valve out and the pipe that goes around the front of the engine down to the oil filler neck, which is a bit of a pain in the ass because they're quite rare and quite expensive. So from my investigation, the valve itself costs in the UK, you can still get it from places like John Craddock. Because interestingly, one of my subscribers mentioned that Dunsfold Land Rovers, the people I've used for lots of my spare parts for the restoration, have actually closed down, and I actually didn't know that. So I phoned them the other day and it rang for ages, and then the owner of the museum actually answered the phone, and I had a quick chat with him. Nice guy, totally understood why that he's closed down the shop, not the museum. So he's closed down the shop but not the museum. And yeah, just thanked him for all of their help over the years, because they were really knowledgeable, the guys that worked there. Tim and Nick and all the rest, they were really good guys. So I suppose if you're watching this, then a shout out to them to say thanks for your help over the years, and I wish you all well for the future. But anyway, so he did confirm, as I say, that the shop's closed but the museum's still open. But then he gave me a couple of other names for suppliers in the UK, this is, to help me out with parts. So I gave them a call for these parts yesterday, and I'm still waiting to hear back from a couple of them with regards to the valve itself. But as they've told me, the tube that goes from the valve to the filler neck is obsolete. So you can only get them second hand. So what I'm planning to do is, rather than search for one and buy it over the internet, because the last one I saw was quite expensive, it was about 50 quid. And I thought I'd make one. So I got from one of you guys the dimensions of the tube itself. So it's 8mm internal diameter, and external is 10. So it's a 1mm thick tube. So I know that they sell aluminium tube here in Hornbach. And I'm to those exact dimensions, and I'm going to try and make my own one. So this video is going to be sourcing the PCV valve, fitting it, and also trying to make up a tube myself. Who knows, it might go horribly wrong, and I'll end up buying one for massive money, or even maybe one of you guys has got one that they could send me. Obviously I'd pay for it, but I think it's worth trying to make one. I quite like the idea of that. So I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so I have picked up a Christmas tree, which is very important, and also this length of aluminium pipe here. And now I'm at DEKRA, which is the, as you can see in the background there behind me, which is the MOT centre, so the test centre for vehicles. And I'm just going to go in there for my 11 o'clock appointment, and when I come out, I will tell you how it went. Okay, so I've just got back from my appointment at the DEKRA, and I met with Herr Preller, Mr. Preller. Nice guy, quite a young guy. And essentially we went through all the paperwork that I had for the car, and I showed him pictures of it, and he was interested, of course, in, you know, the VIN number and the capacity, the engine capacity, and all those sorts of things. And then he was asking me about reversing lights, fog lights and things like that. But then he went and got his book of knowledge, and he determined that it didn't need a reversing light for German law, and it doesn't need a fog light either, which is fine. I do want to use the tow hook on the car, so that needs electrics. At the moment it doesn't have any electrics, so I'll have to source the electrics. There was also a question about the bench seats as well, because it's got bench seats in the back without any seat belts, and he needed to find out whether it's allowed to have those bench seats, although it was an original option, but also whether it needs lap belts as well. Obviously, you know, any kind of security is better than none, so it might be something I do anyway, because I won't go on long journeys with it, but it'd be good to be able to take the kids in the car when I go out for a drive. But that was that. What else did he have to look at? Oh, there was this other thing I've told you about before, this data sheet. I had it done for the Porsche, and it was about 60 euros. But I was asking him again today, and he was saying, oh, I'll have to get back to you to let you know whether it needs this data sheet. And I just wanted to get an idea of costs. And he said it could cost between 200 and 500 euros for a data sheet, which I was just like, what the hell? That's ridiculous. And he said, well, I hope it doesn't. I don't think it will, but I'll check with my boss. So obviously that's another thing I've got to wait to find out. But that's ridiculous. I mean, if it's that expensive to get a data sheet for the car, then bloody Nora, I don't know. But anyway, so I told him, before you make any decisions, just come back to me with any questions you have about the car. If there's any more information I can get you for it, then just let me know. So hopefully we can bypass the costs for that data sheet if it needs it. So that's another thing. But the test itself is quite a long thing. He says it takes 2 to 3 hours for this Gutachten, they call it, which is this test. Inspection is what it translates as, and also because I've asked for this historic inspection as well, a historic vehicle. It takes even longer. So he said that costs between 250 and 300 euros. So yeah, it's all not cheap. And then of course I've got registration on top of that. I've got to get the number plates, and I've got to get insurance. So it could be quite expensive just before Christmas as well. It's not the ideal thing, but anyway, still the goal is to get it on the road before Christmas. So I asked him in terms of timing, and he said he could probably fit me in Friday next week. So if that is the case, that's quite quick. I mean, it's ideal really, but in that time I've got to get this PCV valve sorted out. I've found one, by the way, and it's being sent to me today. I'm going to make this pipe up for the feed pipe to that valve. So that's that. But then I've got to get the electrics for the tow hook. So I've got to order that online, and hopefully I can get that quick enough. And what else? And of course, he'll need to tell me whether it needs seatbelts or not. If it does, then I'm going to have to order those as well. So we shall see. The other question you had was about the left-hand drive lights that I've installed. I've got to check whether they have an E number, which is a certification code on there. I'm pretty sure it does, but I've still got to check that, and I've got to let him know. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. I think that was pretty much it. But yeah, it's quite a lot to consider, and quite a lot of money to consider as well on top of it all. So, but obviously that's the goal. So to get it on the road, because obviously without getting it on the road, it's all pointless. But yeah, so for the rest of today, I'm going to go and change, and I'm going to go up to the garage, and I'm going to start work on this PCV valve feeder pipe. So until then. Okay, so I'm now back up at the workshop. I've got the door closed because it's absolutely freezing outside. As I say, it was snowing this morning, and it just snowed a little bit more just now outside. And yeah, got the door closed. Not exactly cozy in here, because if you look up there, everything's pretty much open, but it's not too bad. So anyway, I've got some pipe, which you saw. I got that from the DIY store, and I'm just going to try and work out now how best to route it around this engine. Obviously, I'm trying to follow the pattern of the original part as best I can, but yeah, the way I'm actually going to do this is because I haven't got a proper pipe forming kit. I've got some very fine sand over there, and I'll fill the pipe with sand, and then I'll bend it round something round, like a bar or a paint can. But heat up the area first. So that is my goal anyway. See how we get on. It might not work at all, and I'll end up having to buy one, one of these breather pipes. But it's definitely worth a go. That pipe cost me for 2 meters of 1 millimeter thick pipe. So it's 8 millimeters internal, 10 on the outside. It cost me €4 or something. And I saw one of these pipes on the internet on eBay recently, and that went for, as I said before, €50, 55 euros. So it's worth trying to make my own. But anyway, here goes. So what I've done, just to get an idea of the route and the length of this pipe, is I've taken a bit of flexible plastic pipe here, which I found in my workshop, and I've taken those bolts out. These are the 2 bolts that were somewhat crudely inserted into the end. One's bigger than the other, I think, are they? Or are they both M10? Anyway, so I've put that in there. It goes up around the front of the engine. As I say, the original hanger or bracket is still there. And the original elbow is still there where the second bolt was in. I've also just turned that up perpendicular then to the engine. And then this second bracket was also still there. So it runs up there and does a little knick or dog leg up to the valve. So I've given myself a bit of extra length there, but I'm going to take that out now and cut a piece to length. So I've now filled my pipe with sand. I've actually decided to leave it full length at the moment because I can't really decide how much to cut it down by. This pipe runs at about ½ a meter, so 500 mil around the engine, but obviously if I'm bending these end parts here, you want a bit of length here to be able to bend that and then cut it off. So I'm going to give it a go, first of all, at full length, because if I cut it in half, obviously that gives me 2 tries, but if I cut it at 600 lengths, then that gives me 3 tries. But if I leave it as one, I'm just going to give it a go. So anyway, I've found this round metal pole here, which is a bit of a signpost, and I'm going to heat up the aluminium and I will try some bending. Okay, so I thought I'd just tell you as soon as the news came in. I just had a call from the DEKRA, the MOT test centre, and good news. So first of all, the back seats are allowed to stay in, because that was a question mark whether they're allowed over here. Secondly, they don't need any, oh God, I can only think of the German word, Sicherheitsgurte. It's unbelievable. Two languages in my head. Any seat belts. And as long as they've got like a grip on the inside where you can hold on to when you're driving, which it has, it's got one on the back inside of the back door. And also the data sheet, which could cost up to €500, with all the information that I've supplied them today, they can do it themselves. So I've saved that money, which is absolutely fantastic. So by the looks of it, the first part of getting this registered over here is going to cost about 250, 300 euros. So I'm really pleased with that because it could have been more than double. So I'm booked in for next Friday at 9:30. So before then, I've got to get this thing that I'm sorting out here, this breather pipe sorted. I want to try and get the electric sorted for the tow hook, but he said it's not essential. You can always put those on afterwards. It doesn't stop them from doing the test. Fantastic. And what else do I need to do? That's pretty much it. So quite exciting. So that just to give you a quick update as it happened. Oh shit, where does that go then? Oh. Okay, that's burning my gloves a little bit, but never mind. Is that right? Yes, so you need to keep going, I'm afraid. Burnt gloves or not. That's very tricky not to bend that flat despite having the sand in, so I'm going to have to tap that back open with a mallet. Getting these tight turns on this metal is not easy at all, but we're getting somewhere. We're getting that shape over there. It just so happens that that fits without this part that I made up over here to go into here. It's too long, so I'll just cut that there and bend that round. That fits more or less over there. And now I've got to have a look on the internet to see actually where this part comes round here, whether it goes past this engine hoist bracket here, or it won't go through it obviously, but it probably just passes through there. So I've just got to check. A lot of time and bending and heating up of this metal and also burning fingers, my thumbs specifically. This is starting to look pretty good. It's fitting. I mean, it's not original, it's not ideal, but it is okay. I'm quite happy with it. I've left this nice and straight. Basically, it's fitting nicely in the original brackets here and here. And obviously this is where the valve will come in. It will sit about here, up here. So I've left this nice and straight. So when I actually get the valve later this week, I'll be able to bend this piece of pipe to fit. But the only thing is really, in the original, I think it goes under here, behind this water pipe, and up through this small crack here, which is just far too fiddly for me. So until I get an original one, this is absolutely fine. I'm quite happy with it. And the chances are I'll just leave it on there, because from this side, once that's all, all bent round, that looks pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with that. But yeah, hopefully we'll get the vent soon and get it all fitted.